Ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you've been waiting for, an introduction to Aperture Global Real Estate. I can't wait till you hear what we've got to talk about today.
Welcome to the David Adam Kurz Show.
All right, guys, I got my honored guest in here with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Mr. Michael Valdes. He is the president of Aperture Global. Man, I'm so stoked to have you on the show. First of all, I want to, from the bottom of my heart, Michael, I want to thank you for doing this with me. Big deal.
Are you kidding me? Come on. I love hanging out with you. Thank you for your leadership. I know that you have helped so many agents in our industry with your coaching, with everything that you do and who you are. So anytime you ask me to do anything, I'll be right by your side, my brother.
I'm pumped. I really, I know that there's a lot of talk about Aperture, but not a lot of information. And that's right. Exciting. And by design, right? By design. And because we don't just want you to look it up, we want you to talk to us. We want you to meet with Michael and learn about Aperture. And this is an opportunity for us to give them just a little more glimpse of what is coming with the storm that's being created.
I gotta tell you, this is so exciting for me. This was one of the main reasons that I came over to this company, because this was a vision that Robert had from the very beginning. And to be able to have this standalone luxury brand that we can present as a global luxury brand from inception. I know you're going to get into questions and everything, but I'm so excited about what we are doing. This is actually the first global luxury brand to ever launch internationally.
That's insane. And am I correct also to say that it is the first cloud-based luxury global brand?
So, it's sort of like we will have what we're calling Brick-and-Mortar LITE, because we know that we're not going to do the model that some of the other luxury brands have done, where that sort of office space becomes the reason that someone is not profitable. And now you have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in rent and no one's going to the office. So we also understand that there's a different way to do this. So we're calling it Brick-and-Mortar LITE. We're coming into major cities around the world and being able to have a presence in some of those cities. So we will have a presence in London, in New York, in Beverly Hills, in Miami. So we are looking at getting some office space in some key markets that will be where we're going to have a big presence.
By the way, I love the way that you put that Brick-and-Mortar LITE, the LITE version. I love it. It makes sense. Like, 100%. Look, I'm a big advocate for, I have an office. And the reason I have an office is because it allowed me an opportunity to get out of my house, right? Sure. And if you look at my office is half office and half studio, because I do a lot of content, and so for me, it's just more peaceful to come to the office, get into the vibe of the office, and then go hard on content. But I also believe that for most of real estate, the office is really unnecessary. Sure. What do most people do at the office? If they're not high level producers, because there are high level producers that go to the office, lock the door, do their thing like I do. Then there are the ones who just like to hang out at the office, right? Yes. The cooler talk, know? But luxury is a little bit different. I've been to some private offices of some very high level luxury agents in Fisher Island and places like that. And they are just gorgeous. Like some of these offices look like model luxury homes. Yeah. By design.
Yeah. Listen, and you're right about the office piece of this, right? Because when I was in production in Miami 20 years ago, I ran one of the largest luxury teams. And when you came in, I came from banking. So I would come in with my team. Everybody had to be there at 8 a.m, and you live in Miami, that's a hard call for a lot of people. And some people are just coming in at 8 a.m. in Miami. So you had to be in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning, ready to go through the expireds, to go through what the pipeline was every single morning, by the way, to be able to go in and figure out what we were going to do that week. And it was focus. But at 10 o'clock in the morning, you better be out of the office because you're not going to do anything sitting in your desk. Go meet somebody.
Money in real estate is made out there.
Of course it is.
Right?
Of course it is.
It's made at showing homes. It's made at listing appointments. It's made at coffee shops. Like my favorite place to meet a client is Starbucks. I love it because everyone feels comfortable in this environment. I've never met anyone that says, I hate sitting at Starbucks. Like, honestly, you know? And so that's my favorite place. By the way, it cost me a whopping $5 coffee to invite them over. And we sit down, we have a wonderful conversation about whatever it is that their real estate journey is. And then we go from there, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the money's made, not sitting in my office in a cubicle or this place that I have here. It's not made here.
Look, it's the idea that this is my 21st year in real estate, and it's like most of my career has been focused in the luxury space. Go and find somebody. If it's not the coffee shop, if somebody is not as outgoing as you are, and they have a different personality, here's one of my favorite ones I ever heard. Go and walk your dog in a different neighborhood you want to farm. Let your dog do the hard work for you. If you don't have a dog, go get a neighbor's dog. Go. It's sort of like, I'm serious about this one. Imagine walking and your dog across the, let's look at your market, the Venetian Islands,
right?
Or walking along any other market you wanted to do. Go into Hibiscus, go into Palm, right? It's sort of like go and walk your dog there. And it's sort of like your dog is going to go and make friends for you and force you to talk. And guess who's talking to?
I love it.
A neighbor that lives there.
Yep.
That's who you're talking to.
Yep.
So get out of your office and go and let people know what you do for a living.
I love that you said that because I met a luxury agent in Dallas, and the way that she tapped into her market, she went to a community. The community average price of the home in the community was about $4.5 million. Yep. And after she gave birth, she said, man, I got to get back out there. So she put the baby in the stroller and she went to that community. I love that one. And she walked that community every single day. And everyone got to know her because she wore her little shirt or her jacket with her logo. And she was walking the baby and she'd say hi to neighbors and stuff like that. And then she said that she did that for about 3-4 months before she had a community meeting at the community center about the market value of the homes in the area. And she put a picture of her holding the stroller to her side with the baby. In the photo, everybody knew who she was. Yep. Everybody knew that was the lady that walks around the neighborhood all the time.
That's so brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about Aperture.
All right, so let's get into Aperture. So Aperture Real Estate, how did it become? I know you tapped on it a little bit earlier. It was Robert's idea from the beginning. Yeah. He knew this was going to be a part of LPT Holdings, but how does Aperture fit into the ecosystem of LPT Holdings?
So, we call this what we're calling the flywheel. And this is how we're having conversations with some of the investment bankers that we're talking to for our pre-IPO that's happening in Q1 of next year. So we've got a lot of this great narrative that's happening, and it always became the vision for Robert. So we have agent choice over at LPT, where there's 2 models to meet the agent wherever they are in their trajectory of their career. But now you really have a different conversation with those luxury agents that really are brand first. On the LPT side, you're agent first. You can go in and brand or logo any color you want. You can make it your own personality, your own style, whatever you want to do. On the luxury side, that's really very different. Yeah. On the luxury side, there are standards. When you start talking about some of the other global luxury brands that are out there, there's strict brand requirements, and that's what gets them in the door. So we knew that we can build the same thing and serve another segment of our industry with really serving that luxury agent first as to where they are, and building something that is not just an add-on to something that we're having as part of the regular brand, but it literally is a separate brokerage that only focuses on that luxury space and those luxury agents. Now, imagine if you are already an LPT agent and sitting here. Now you have the ability to tell the LPT story, but you also have the ability to tell the luxury story for those agents that are coming in and need something there. There's a lot of changes in the luxury space in our industry. And when you actually are offering something that is different, that is superior, that is something that is of benefit to the agent, to the consumer, and in many cases, to that developer. We have actually gotten an inventory from many developers across the nation and globally at this point, where they have heard the story and they're like, we love this. And we are actually performing very well with them. So we have something that's elevated for the consumer, for the agent, and for the developer.
Wow, that's incredible to know, because, you know, look, we talk about LPT and we've always talked about agent choice. And we've said, listen, you've got choices, and specifically, let's get into like the type of commission platform they want to get into. They can do the 100%, they can do the 80-20. And then when it comes to style, you could be your transaction agent as usual. You can have an option at the luxury collection. You can have an option at the luxury network. But now we're taking it to another level, and we're saying, or you could completely move from this brokerage to Aperture's brokerage.
Right.
But by the way, you're not leaving anything behind.
It's quite the contrary. As we are all now shareholders of this company, as being agents of this company, and being rewarded for everything they do every single day in really creating and helping buyers and sellers reach their dreams. That's what we do every single day. And I am so proud of every agent that is part of our organization. And now you have the ability to help those consumers at a different basis themselves. But now think about this. Think about the fact that we as shareholders are about to go public early next year. When we are building this company, as we are now the fastest growing real estate company ever in the industry, to reach the top 10 by transactions, the fastest ever in less than 3 years' time. It was really funny because most of the lists that we ended up on, they asked for more proof of our goals because they didn't believe it, because no one's ever achieved it in this short a period of time. And now, as we build upon what we have built already with LPT and create another brokerage that's focused on the luxury space, which is Aperture, now you're building on the success and the foundation that's already been there. And now you have the ability to say, okay, what if you had a holding company that owned an EXP and a Compass, right? Those two companies, by transaction and by volume, if they were owned by the same company, what would that look like?
Right.
That's exactly what we are building.
Right. And that's incredible if you think about it, because you can go and you can look at some of these high transaction companies that are public already, look at their stock tickers, see their value, see where they're at. They're public, so you can see their numbers, you know, and then you can go find some of these luxury brokerages that are, you know, public as well, look up their stock tickers, see their value, and you can start to imagine, right, what that looks like if these two merged and became one.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And that's essentially what we're building here. That is 100% what's happening right now.
And then imagine that existing LPT agent that now has another brand that they can attract to.
Right.
Imagine now the idea of cross-brand revenue share for someone.
Right.
That with Aperture, it actually becomes the most profitable revenue share of anyone that offers revenue share in our industry. So
absolutely insane, incredible.
Those are exciting times for somebody.
Yep. So coming back to Aperture as a brand, because we keep talking about the brand Aperture, what is the idea of the identity of Aperture? Why the name? Why the brand? Why the look? What is it that we're creating at Aperture?
So the name Aperture comes from much like what a photographer uses the aperture of a lens to use their expertise to go and capture an image. So does a real estate professional, especially in the luxury space, use their aperture, their expertise to bring that buyer and seller together. So that's where the name emanates from. It's the idea of coming in and focusing, again, playing on that word of aperture, focusing on that luxury market and being singular in that focus. And so when you actually have that, what we're doing with an Aperture deliverable is we are making that Aperture agent the celebrity in their geographic location. And we're doing that by literally putting them on television. So we did a lot of research. We have a media company called Elite View Media that's part of our holding company as well. And the focus has been that over 80% of the ultra high net worth households receive their information through some form of a streaming program, whether that be Netflix, whether that be, Paramount TV, whatever it is.
Right.
And so right now we have proprietary technology to actually pinpoint the ultra high net worth households in a geographic location. And what we are doing is that we are creating Aperture commercials with that agent and creating that lifestyle of that agent as the luxury professional in that geographic location that builds the agent and builds the brand simultaneously. Then we are actually going and doubling down on that message and having direct mail to the same ultra high net worth households with that Aperture agent in their mailbox. So they've just seen David on television, they walk to their mailbox, they see David in their mailbox. What is going on? David is the luxury expert in my area. And by the way, David is, because you have to qualify to be an Aperture agent by production. We have different qualifications in different geographic locations. So you have to qualify to be able to actually have an Aperture card.
So I'm loving this right now. I was sitting in the back of a mansion a couple weeks ago, and we were having a mastermind, and I'm sitting on the dock, and there's a about 120-foot yacht to the left. And then there was like this, other house that was way further down. It was much smaller. There was like a 30-footer outside. No disrespect to the 30-footer, but it's not a 120-foot yacht, right? And so I was explaining the direct access of these commercials. And I said, although they're in the same neighborhood, he's going to get a Café Bustelo commercial and he's going to get an Aperture commercial, right? And
bingo.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's that direct targeting, which is absolutely insane, which you're already tapping into. My next kind of segment that I want to talk about is, what makes Aperture stand out from the traditional luxury brokerage? What makes Aperture more attractive? What are the key differentiators more attractive to a luxury agent that looks at Aperture and goes, oh my God, this is it? Like, why didn't anybody else think of this?
We're looking at this in the whole luxury space, right? So, I was in banking for 10 years before real estate. So if you actually count the whole banking space as well, I spent 3 decades in the luxury space dealing with mostly centimillionaires and billionaires. And so this is something that I've just been around for a very long time. And when we looked at this space, we looked at luxury differently. We looked at not just what are the benefits for the agents, what's the benefits for the consumer.
Right.
And so we're actually doing a rewards program for consumers, buyers and sellers. And what we're creating are events that we're calling unobtainium events, things that money cannot necessarily buy. And so we're creating experiences for them. And so we have this vision of, in 3 years' time, we're in the 100 most luxurious cities in the world. And we've got the 50 or 100 most lucrative transactions that happen by these consumers. Imagine these centimillionaires that are global in nature, and they're all in a room. It almost becomes like a mini Davos. Right. That becomes like our Aperture experience for all of these people. And imagine then what we can create. It's no longer a luxury brokerage. It is now a movement where you actually bring like-minded people together in a space where you then have the voice of that space because you've got the consumers for it. That's what we're creating. We're creating something that is much larger than just a brokerage that's going to go sell a $10 million house. That's not what it's about. It's about community at a global scale that hasn't been able to be done before. That's what we're creating. And we're creating it with these incredible ambassadors of this brand, what we're calling the founders of this brand. We launched 2 weeks ago in 15 states and 4 international cities.
Let's go.
That has been so incredible, where you actually see this launch as a global launch. And we launched with about 100 commitments from these founding members. And we launched with about $2 billion of production.
Wow.
That's insanity.
No, who's ever done this before?
No one. That's a whole point.
I feel like LPT Holdings is just creating the first of the first over and over and over and over and over again. And it's unstoppable. It's unstoppable, Michael. And I love it. I get excited, man.
When we look, part of the reason is part of this whole thing is the discretion of what we're doing, right? The discretion of the clientele, the discretion of the agents that are joining us. And we are about to announce some very, very major players. We have people that have done over $400 million last year that we're about to announce. And they've signed up, they're part of this family, they're part of what we're growing. And so this is exciting. This is exciting. We have got a lot of agents that have done 100 million plus. So these are strong, strong agents that are becoming this, as I call them, ambassador to the messaging that we want to do.
Right.
And so what we're doing is creating this global culture from day one. We're now in 4 countries from day one. I do a call every 2 weeks with every Aperture agent around the world. What does that do? It creates a true global network from day one. When you're talking about a referral program at another company, for example, you better hope that you've got a relationship with that franchise owner in London who's not going to take your call.
Right.
And you're sitting here. Now, imagine the difference if you were that agent that was sitting here. And by the way, it's already happened. That was sitting under Aperture. And now you actually have the conversation with that London agent. And you say to your client that's on North Bay Road that just asked you about the London market, and you say, you know, we just listed Abramovich's penthouse that is in Chelsea in London 2 weeks ago. And he's going to say, how do you know that? Because I spoke to the agent that just did it.
Right.
And we're actually on a call every 2 weeks. And he's like, wait, what? And then imagine the power that brings.
It's undeniable. It's undeniable power.
Remember, it's a global clientele. We're literally dealing with the top 1% of the clients on a global basis, right? So who's the person that's selling the $150 million house on Star Island? Right? It's sort of like, it happened, so somebody bought it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, so this is what we're building here, where you actually have the clientele coming in and out and knowing where they are. We are about to sign a $35 million penthouse in New York City with the CEO of a large fashion brand. They don't want to have that publicly out there. So we have now the ability to be able to have this internal communication on a global scale. I'm not going to call it a private exclusive. I'm going to call it a communication with those people that have and represent buyers that are looking for something like a discrete penthouse in New York City.
And that scale.
On that scale, because you're dealing with them on a regular basis. And so that's what we're creating.
I love this. And some of the things that I really picked up that I enjoyed was you said that putting together the groups of clientele and also putting together the agents, you know, on another kind of, you know, in your every 2 weeks communication, this creates, like you said, a movement. It creates a like-minded situation. It creates a link and a universal mental link between like-minded individuals. And so you put these people in a room and the frequency of that link just goes through the roof.
100%.
Right. And so when we talk about, and you and I, we've been to masterminds with people and we like go in, and we might talk sometimes, we might be a guest sometimes, might just be an innocent bystander sometimes, but every time, you walk away and you go, wow, this guy, like, very impressive, right? Because there's always going to be somebody in the room that you like gravitate towards, and everything they say just sounds like gold in the making, right? Yeah. And that happens in all rooms that situate in this manner. And so this frequency that you're creating, this aperture frequency that you're creating, is incredible, because it has no choice but to provide energy to the movement of this buildup of this company.
So well said. I love that. That is so well said, because it does operate on a different frequency. It does operate where it's a different language. Luxury is a different language, right? And a lot of people pretend to speak it. And it actually does, like, it washes out. Yeah. Because when you have that real buyer, they're like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Listen, we did an audit on a very large luxury brand in your market, in the Miami market, where you would think that, oh my God, this is so-and-so brand. The average sales price of all of those agents was $400,000. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not a luxury agent.
Right.
Right. And so what we're saying is a different story, right? Where you, in the Miami market, for example, we're looking at $15 million of production per agent for the last 12 months. So if you're a luxury team of 3, we're looking at about $45 million of team production. And
so let's look at that real quick. What does the ideal Aperture agent look like? Because it is very different. Like you said, I know a lot of these companies. I was a part of a luxury brand, and we were, I think we were the number 3 team in Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, for a couple years in a row with them, and that was before I went off to create my own brand.
Sure.
But I know that there were agents at this luxury brand that weren't doing anything.
Sure.
They were just, I called them office creatures. Yeah. Right. They're in the office, they well dressed, looking good, looking pretty, but weren't moving anything, And so, but that's not going to be the case at Aperture.
No, and here's the thing. This is why we have both brands. If somebody really wants to aspire to be that Aperture agent, we actually have a path to Aperture at LPT.
Yes.
So we will take you through, show you, coach you up, train you on how to increase your average sales price, on how to focus on luxury, and build that up. You can't do your training wheels on the brand, but you can actually go and do it and take the path. And we will coach you to get there. And when you are there, we want that consumer to know that anyone who carries an Aperture card earned the right to do so.
Right. They paved the way. They've paid their dues.
If they had to pay their dues, or if they didn't have the production and they wanted to get into that space, we have a space for you to get there. You're still a part of our brand. You're a part of our family. We will get you into that road to Aperture if that's where you actually want to be. And for some reason, listen, there is no right choice, right? There could be a luxury agent that's very happy at LPT, right? But it's sort of like, and then we've got materials for them there too. But when you actually have somebody that really just wants to focus on that brand first part of the brokerage, that's going to get them into a 10, 15, $20 million listing world, then this is what we've built.
Love this. And so you mentioned earlier that in Miami, the minimum production for a single agent would be 15 million. So if a team of 3, we're looking for 45 million last 12 months. Is that the same in every state and country, or does it vary based on the area?
It varies based on the area, because luxury is different based on the area.
Right.
And so, but we still have that strong production requirement in the markets in which we're going to. And remember, this is an ultra luxury brand. So we're not going to be in smaller markets. It's just not an Aperture market for us.
Right.
This is the focus of what we're doing. And this is the beauty of this too. This is one of the things that really got me excited when I was talking to Robert about this. The idea of creating just Aperture in luxury cities around the world. A lot of our luxury brands that are out there on a global scale are a franchise. And when you sell a franchise, you sell a franchise for the entire country in most cases, or a very large area. So in Spain, I'm not looking to do Aperture Spain because not all of Spain is luxury. You know, my mother's from Madrid, so I know Spain extremely well. I lived there as a child. And so when you start looking at this, I will open up a Madrid Aperture. I will open up an Ibiza, a Balearic Island. I will open up a lot of these other areas, but you don't necessarily need to be in Galicia, for example,
right?
Which is where my grandparents are from. And there's not enough luxury there to open up something. But that might be something that I look at for LPT. Right. And we look at LPT Spain in general, right? So this is the beauty of having both levers that now I can pull internationally. What would be great for the LPT brand on a more mass market? And what would be good on something that is different, right? Yes. So that's what's exciting.
I'm pumped to hear that, because the beauty of this is you have so I'm an agent. I'm not me particularly, but I'm John Smith, the agent with the dream of selling luxury real estate. And you're saying, cool, maybe you're not ready for Aperture because we do have these minimum requirements, but maybe you are ready for LPT, and you come and you start learning the luxury brand and building it up through our platform, our path to Aperture. And then when you're ready, you could make the jump into Aperture and boom, you're in, right? That's, man, listen, that's a beautiful thing to have, and to have the flexibility too, right? Because like you mentioned, going into some places, let's look at Tennessee, for instance, right? Not all of Tennessee is going to be Aperture homes, right?
Now we're very excited about Nashville, and we're talking to some great people. And we've already actually have some people operating under Aperture in Nashville and killing it.
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. So we're 15 markets right now.
We are.
Plus
15 states, yes.
Or 15 states right now. Plus we have 4 countries.
4 international cities, right.
What are the 4 international cities?
So it's London, Toronto, Lisbon, and St. Martin. And St. Martin might seem like a weird sort of choice, but I'll tell you why. Because this brand was so powerful that we got the worldwide exclusive for the first Elie Saab development, the fashion designer.
Wow.
And by the way, we have already sold 3 of those villas.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So exciting, man.
I
mean, look, agents everywhere should be excited about this.
Oh my God. Absolutely. They should be.
Like I always have these jokes about like why agents join the industry. And there is a group of agents that join the industry because their full intention is to have a TV show on Netflix, right? And so they're watching this TV show and they go, I can do that. That's
Let's
what I
hope
want to do.
That's not why agents earn to our industry.
But then you come into the industry and you realize it's not that easy.
It's
right?
work.
It's work. It's hard work. But the ones who stay and end up the luxury direction, man, they're incredible workers, incredible people, incredible networks.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So one more thing, because we talked about how, LPT, Realty, and Aperture are under the same flagship, right?
Holding company, yes.
Holding company. And so does that mean that Aperture agents also have an opportunity to earn stock in a similar fashion and way?
It's the same stock. So you're the what we're going out public with is LPT Holdings. That holding company owns Aperture and owns LPT Realty. So that is it's all the same stock. They're not separate stock. They're not separate things. So there are different ways of earning stock by production on the Aperture side. And not going to get into the details, but it is all the same stock.
Beautiful. Now, we talked a lot about the community and the culture that Aperture is working to create. And I'm excited about this because that I'm on my way to Aperture. You know that we've had our conversations, and I love the idea of being able to network with people that speak like me and talk and think like me, and also people that are way past me, because I want to absorb. That's the room you want to be in.
That's the
right.
room.
And listen, I've been coaching for more than a decade, but I'm always looking for a new mentor.
Sure.
Always. I want to sponge it all. I want it all. Like right now, I'm in classes learning Hebrew, and I'm like, I want to bring it in. I want to learn, and to be in that room sometimes, just to join that every other week meeting that you have every 2 weeks, and just shut up and listen. Just for one meeting and listen to what everybody's saying and just pull it. So
I got to tell you, it is such a powerful meeting because it is, first of all, it's global. You hear all of the stories. Everyone sort of gives you their wins. And what we do is that we showcase a couple of things on every call so that everyone's aware of it. And because that's where community happens. That's where deals have actually happened on that call already, and we're 2 weeks old. It's crazy.
Wow.
And imagine how that's going to progress as we continue to progress, right? And, and I'll tell you something, it's beautiful, David. Some of the folks that are on there said, in the UK, for example, there's some superstars that are, that have their own podcasts and things like that, like you do. And so they actually started getting some of the US agents onto the UK podcast and vice versa. There's a lot of agents that are on the Aperture side here in the US that all have different podcasts, and they actually invited their UK agents to come on. And so this whole thing right now has become a global movement.
Oh yeah,
from day one. It's
I love
beautiful.
it. I love it. So I'm honored to say that I was a guest on one of those podcasts in the UK, it was an incredible conversation.
That's awesome.
And just a ton of fun, man. A ton of fun, all right. So I'm going to close out with a couple different questions and we can bang out like fire style kind of answering on this.
Got it.
Would you give us a sneak peek? And I don't know if you will, but a sneak peek because I know you and I know your experience globally, and I know that you're not a slow pace mover. So is there a sneak peek you could give us of what countries are to come?
Look, I think I'm looking at this very strategically as we're literally building a global brand, right? So there's things that will be very strategic for us. There's going to be other cities in Europe, obviously. I want to enter the Middle East. Obviously, we've started some early conversations with Dubai, with Jeddah and Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, which are going to be really great cornerstones for us in the Middle East. In Mexico, I'm looking at Mexico City and Cabo. I'm looking at cities that make perfect sense for us. I'm looking at things like Singapore. I'm looking at Sydney. I'm looking at things that make sense for what we're doing. Tokyo is in early conversations as well. And in Brazil, I'm looking at Rio and Sao Paulo. So there's a lot of wealth that's still there. So I'm looking at places around the world that make sense for what we're building. But you'll see a lot of different locations that will be coming very soon.
Very exciting to hear that. And all right, so next thing, if I'm an agent thinking of switching to a luxury brand, number one, 2, or 3, however many you want to give me, reason why I choose Aperture right now.
Superior marketing for what you're doing for your consumers and yourself, getting your message across in a targeted way to that end consumer. Imagine right now where we are in an environment where our real estate is at the lowest transaction volume that's ever been probably since the financial crisis in all markets, by the way. So if you have less buyers, the ability to go in and have your message seen by the targeted audience at the highest propensity for pulling a trigger on a transaction, that should be the only reason you do it. And the ability to come in and build that agent as the brand, as the luxury brand in that market. I just got off the phone with an agent that is coming from a very famous family in the entertainment industry. And so they talked to me about creating their own brand, the brand that's not the family name, the brand that is their own identity. And that's where I sort of will lean in forever on someone like that. Right. Someone who wants to sort of and He's a great hustler on his own right of what he's doing in our industry. And that's someone that I will back all day long. And that's every agent that wants to create something. This is the home for them. And this is where I want to partner with them.
Man, that's amazing. All right, next one is, where do you see Aperture 3 years from now? What do you see?
So we will be in at least 100 luxury cities internationally. I see us at probably about 2,000, 2,500 agents in the US, probably at about 500 to 1,000 agents outside of the US at that point. I see us really being that probably in 3 years' time is probably going to be our launch time for that first Aperture Davos event, where we are bringing in those top clients from around the world that are having different conversations at a different level that then goes and creates a positive, again, movement for humanity.
If you closed your eyes today and just imagined giving a speech at that Davos, what would be the story you would want to tell?
Look what we've done in the last 3 years. Look at the families that we've impacted. Look at the story that we've told. Look at where the name Aperture is now a household name. And the name Aperture has helped communities, has helped philanthropically, has helped people achieve and reach their level of success, and it's created a community that then has a greater impact on humanity.
Wow. All right. I want 3 years. Listen, I know I'm in that room in 3 years, but let's say I'm just out there and I'm listening to this right now, and I'm on the David Adam Kurz Show. I'm listening to this podcast and I'm going, wow, this is absolutely insane. Where do I get more information? Right? What do they do?
So your first stop is apertureglobal.com. And that's where you learn about what the brand is. If you are a luxury agent that qualifies, I'm sure they can reach you, David, that you can sort of like help get people into my hands, and we can tell the story. We can tell you what the benefits are. We can go deep. A part of this is like peeling the onion, right? Peeling the onion and figuring out what is the benefit of this. And this sounds intriguing. What else is underneath there? Me sitting here for an hour and telling you what the benefits are of Aperture and where we are, it doesn't serve anyone its purpose, right? Because it's understanding what somebody's position is. Where are you in your career? Why would you want an Aperture brand? What is that elevation that you haven't gotten from another brand? What is that lack of a global community that you're looking for but haven't achieved yet? We're not a one size fits all. Right. This is not going to be good for a majority of the agents listening. Right. It's sort of like, so why bother going through everything? I'd rather understand where someone is in their career
and meet them where they are.
Meet them where they are. Yeah. And have a conversation with them as to why this would be intriguing and important. But if this is the space that you're in, I would love to show that luxury agent how we're different and how we can impact their lives even more so that they can serve more people at a greater level.
I love to say that everything that we do at LPT Holdings is a game changer, and this is absolutely one of them. And I'm blessed to have you on this show, and I'm blessed to have this information that we're sharing. It's absolutely incredible. I can't wait to get this out to the world, and so that the world can better see and understand who we are as a company and what we're creating for them and for the consumer. And I love that we just said this right now. No matter who you are in the real estate industry, we have a home for you.
That's right.
And we want to meet you where you are, and then we want to help you elevate as high as you want to go. That's right. Because I don't believe everybody wants it, and I don't believe everybody should have it. Right. And so you just have to you have to meet people exactly where they are. I always tell this story. I was coaching one time, and all my coaching was rah, be a top producer, rah, kill it, luxury, and I had a lady come up to me at the end of the training and she said, Dave, I love coming to hear you speak, and I've seen you speak several times. She goes, but I have no interest in being a top producer. She said, I'm a single mother and I have more interest in being at my kids' games than I do stuck in my business. And I said, well, how much do you want to make? And she said, I just need to make 60, 70 a year. She said, my house is paid off. My cars are paid off. I'm good. I just need money to keep the roof over my head, maintenance, and put my kids in everything they want to be involved in. And that's what was important. I met her where she was, and the next year she did 100, trying to aim for 60.
That's right.
Right. And what an incredible, so we're here. I'm speaking to you real estate agents out there. We're here to meet you exactly where you are, whether that means that you're coming into LPT Realty or it means you're coming into Aperture. We're excited to talk to you about it. And listen, you come to me and you want to learn more about Aperture, I'm going to point you to this man right here, Michael Valdes. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much for doing this with me.
Oh my God, absolutely. And again, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for your leadership. And it's really a pleasure to call you my brother and be in the same organization, helping agents as much as we can every single day.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys, make sure that you love, like, and subscribe to this show and share it. Share it with people. I always tell people to share it because you never know who in your network needs to hear this message. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time.